Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Rhino Revelations, Conservation Successes in India and Nepal, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Arpita Dutta. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you for being here with us today. Take it away, Arpita.
Thank you so much, Rob, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. And it's uh, it's always pleasure to share the thoughts and like the wildlife here in India and Nepal. I mean, all the Indian subcontinent, and especially when it comes to conservation. I think we all are very much into it for the reason we do all this travel, exploring areas, get to know more about the animals, wildlife, the biodiversity, and we kind of get to understand the place they are living in and what is their status. So while doing that, today it's I feel really good that it's that I'm going to talk about that one of the majestic animal of the megafauna. And rhinos do fascinates me a lot. I mean, after elephants, I love elephants. And it's always great to share about this magnificent species with you all. And so the how we start the thing is, let me give you a little brief about the one-horned rhino. So this is the second largest rhino in the world, and it's called the rhinoceros unicornis, the Latin name. It's obvious the name because of this one single horn it has. And now the IUCN status for the one-horned rhino is vulnerable. And imagine a huge, like a gentle giant, we call the elephant. But imagine the rhino, which is even like almost pretty big enough and weighs almost 1800 to 2500 to 2800 kgs, and almost up to 2 meters it can get at the shoulder. And this horn length, the size of the horn can reach up to 8 to 9 inches, which is definitely smaller than the African ones. And they live in the wild in an average of 45 years. And it feeds on, like, it's a browser as well as a grazer, but mostly graze. And it like feeds on grass, leaves, shrubs, aquatic plants, and fruits, and almost need 40 to 50 kgs of vegetation to get its protein. So whenever you were seeing the rhino, either in Nepal or in India, you will see them that most of the time it's munching, like my how my brain and heart feels like, always I love food. I mean, food can make me happy. So almost it's the same, like it keeps on like munching on the vegetation. And they are solitary mostly, especially the male. The female can be seen with the calves and other females around that area, but they have their own home range and their territory. And the interesting part of is, like, as we know, the elephant vocalize a lot. The tigers, they have a lot of vocalization. Even a crocodile, like the big key species animals, they do a lot of communication with their vocal muscles. In case the one horn rhino also use a number of vocalization, at least minimum 10 vocalization type has been recorded. So that's a good way of communication. So, and with that, their gestation period is 15.7 to 16 months. They reproduce in every 3.5 to 5 years, because the calf remains with the mother So they would hang around with the mother, and the mother doesn't mate until and unless the calf get dispersed. So, and the calf disperse by the age of 4.5 to 5, or sometimes they stick around till 6 years. But after that, she's ready to mate again. So that's why it takes a long time for a rhino to bring back the population in that area. And they're amazing swimmers, excellent sense of hearing, but poor eyesight. So I remember that when I used to like work in Chitwan, sometimes we used to go on foot, and we always like either we used to talk with gestures without any voice, and their sense of smell is also really good. So sometimes if we see a rhino is standing like somewhere, and we used to sit duck down or against the wind, so that our scent doesn't carry the wind doesn't carry our scent to the rhino. So yeah, those are some amazing experience. Maybe we will talk about it some later. And the I mean, why this Indian one horn or the greater one horn rhinos becomes very unique is because of their armored like skin. Not only armored like skin, I mean, when you see it in front, it looks like a puzzle. Like, all small puzzle shots are put together, and this is how they get the whole animal. Even the tail has a perfect position to get in, like a proper, like fissure kind of a thing is there. And yeah, that makes this rhino looks really pretty interesting. And they can almost like run to 50 to 55 kilometer per hour. So it is very difficult to outrun a rhino. You just need to remember that you have to run faster than the last one, or you should know how to climb a tree when you are in a rhino area, like uh, rhino area, and you are on foot. Of course, in the vehicle, that's not a problem. They don't do much when you are on a safari vehicle. But yeah, so with all these interesting features and the significant characteristic of rhinos, that makes it definitely unique. But and so that's why their conservation was important. Rather, the success, it's important to share their conservation success story. And why was it's still important to let everyone know about the species who needs a lot of protection is because once they ranged the entire northern part of Indian subcontinent. You see this green line, the light green in color where my cursor is. These were the whole area where the rhino population were like thrived at some point of time. So it's from there are few main rivers which flows here, Indus, over here the Ganges, and here the Brahmaputra. So in this whole basin, the grassland and the riverine forest, we used to see the greater one horn rhino. So for the land, I mean, for the areas or the countries, it's from Pakistan to like in Indian Burmese border, which is here, and including the parts of Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh out here. So these were the historical distribution of this species. But unfortunately, now the species has been like fragmented into very small pockets. You see those darker green dots out here. So these are only areas where we get to see the rhinos. So in in that way, it's only found in Nepal and India only. Bhutan does get population sometime, not I won't say population, but it's not a regular thing. So from India, sometimes they take a stroll and enter, and then they come back. This is how Bhutan get to the national park in Bhutan, which is also called the Royal Manas. So here they sometimes see it, but the rhinos come back to India. So they don't have a permanent population of rhinos out there. So right now, the permanent population at present is only in India and in Nepal. So the so here we have to understand a few things that India and Nepal share a few areas like national parks or protected areas, which is and in Nepal there are 4 places where we get to see rhinos. This Shuklapantha, Bardia, Chitwan, and Parsa. So this Chitwan National Park we visit during our Nepal-Bhutan trip. And in India, we have this Gorumara, Jaldapara, Manas. This Manas is in Assam, the same place where we go during our Grand India wildlife adventure. The last national park, which is Kaziranga. So it's in the same state. So here we have the Kaziranga, which has the highest population of the greater one-horn rhino in the world right now. And then we have the highest concentration of the rhino, which is in Pobitora. It's a small park, but it has a very big number of population out here. And there is another one, which is Dudhwa in India, where again we get to see the rhino population. So yeah, out of this Nepal and India, the 2 national park where we visit has the highest population in each of the countries. And so here, the rhino prefers this grassland, or rather this like Terai arc landscape. That's what it is called. The Terai grassland is a home for the greater one-horn rhinos, and of course other megafaunas and other faunas in that grassland area. And the entire distribution is spread out in this Terai Arcland, which has also this riverine forest because it has a lot of rivers around it, and also woodland is present. And this grassland is a critical habitat for the megafauna. And all this grass, when I'm talking about grassland, these grasses are called the elephant grass. They can be from 6 to 9 meters tall. I mean, I can forget myself, like the elephant can hide in that grass. So you can imagine how the habitat looks like. And this grassland also play a very important role in maintaining the connectivity between the fragmented forest patches, across the landscape. Because there are once we go ahead, you will see a few landscape pictures. You would understand that how the land looks in all these areas. Sorry. So yeah, this is where they prefer to live. And over here you can see this whole area is the Terai Arcland landscape. All this in Nepal area. I mean, starting from here to here. Okay, so before we move ahead, why is it important to protect these species? Why is it important for the biodiversity to conserve these species? And for that, let me just give you a little stories, or just to talk about these rhinos, that what difference do they make in that area or in that biodiversity. So it's as I mentioned, that they graze as well as they browse. And because of their grazing, continuous grazing rather, I have to say, because of their continuous grazing, they kind of create open grassland, which prevents all bush encroachment, which is required for to sustain the other wildlife in that area. Because the grasslands, there are a lot of other grassland species which depend on the health of this particular habitat. So yeah, it does help that. So it maintains the the ecosystem of the grassland. And again, I said that they are like the hippos of India and Nepal. So you will find them pretty much a time in water, wallowing or taking a bath and feeding. So what they do is while wallowing there, each and every day they create a huge dent, or you can say a small water hole, and that that prevents them, drying out, because every day that rhino is coming on, not only one, maybe one or two rhinos is coming down and just wallowing, rolling themselves up. So that keeps on growing big, and which sustain, like which creates a micro habitat for insects, amphibians and birds. Especially, in summer, if you notice, like you have to look through the binocular, there is a particular frog called skittering frog which skits on the surface of the water. Many times it has been found that it is sitting on the ear of the rhino or near the folds of the rhinos. Okay, so they get in, and of course insects are there, and they kind of roll into the mud. The rhinos, it's like a sunscreen for them, and the insects also like get a space to be there, and for birds, and that microhabitat is used by the birds as well. So being, it's kind of a keystone, that, oh yeah, they are the seed dispersers, also because they eat fruits and all, and the seeds they get defecated by through their dung, or sometimes they chew and throw the seed. So that's how it disperses the seeds. And of course, sometimes when they are like rolled into the mud, there are few trees which pods are like, when they dry up, it's like cotton with a seed, like they have wings and like fluffy wing-like structure in the seed. So they get stuck on those on the body of the rhino, and when they dry off, they fall into different areas. So yeah, it managed that ecosystem pretty well. And being a keystone species in that area, like it maintained the population dynamics of other species. As I mentioned, there are swamp deer, there are hawk deer, badgers, otter. There, name it. I mean, there are a lot of other animals which it helps actually. And also it helps to control the prey bears. I mean, because when there is a healthy ecosystem, a lot of prey based animal can also thrive in that grassland or in that riverine forest, which is helping the carnivores like tiger, leopard to hunt on them and to survive in that same place. And another so important thing is the rhinos dump or defecate at the same place again and again, which creates a maiden. I mean, that heap of dung is called maiden. And the rhino dung provides nutrients for, insects. Especially, we know about the dung beetle, right? And also supports the microbial communities. I mean, let us live all together. I mean, that's how the dung almost provides, and which, and also the dung which contributes nutrient cycle and improve the soil fertility. So not only the rhino, its dung also creates a lot of, importance to that ecosystem. And a healthy rhino population indicates a well balanced ecosystem, because if it is getting so many things around it which it requires, and then the number increase, and then you know that okay, the habitat is definitely important, so much important. And it's also influence, the climate regulation, because it, that's influencing vegetation pattern, promoting plant growths. Rhino helps in carbon sequestration, contributing to this climate regulation. Because for an example, a quick example, like in Yellowstone, that's one species, like bringing back one species has changed the entire habitat of that national park, which is one of the most important national park. And so yeah, it's the same thing done by the rhinos in these grassland areas. But Unfortunately, after being the keystone species, giving out so much to the ecosystem, to the human rather, because it's again land, habitat. We all are intricately, connected to each other. Um, they have faced a huge and a significant population decline, and it happened like in during 1900, I mean 1880 to 1900, or 1960. This is the duration where a lot of when they have faced the most, actually, the trouble of raising their population because of this game hunting, trophy hunting, excessive poaching for the demand of medicinal, a rhino horn for the medicinal use. Um, and yeah, and the status symbol, you know what I mean, there were some papers. If you read, if you go through the papers, you see that having a rhino horn in your home, or when you are decorating as ornamentation of the rhino horn, that's like a status symbol. So people go crazy on all these things, and they believe in all the superstitions, and that the rhino horn can do really something. I mean, it's just a keratin our nail is made out of. And another thing which has been happened from the many years back is the habitat destruction. So these are the thing which made their population go down. And when we talk about this trophy hunting in Nepal, the kings, and this Chitwan National Park was a game reserve before. Like people used to come there for hunting only. Not only rhinos, any animals they want to see. But these are like the trophies: rhinos, tigers, leopard, black bear, elephant. So these were the big shots which they used to hunt a lot. So and in Nepal, kings, they're friends, and sometimes they invite people from different parts of the world. And you know what? Sometimes used to stay, they camp inside those national parks for more than maybe 15 to 20 days, sometimes a month. And in 1 month, it has been recorded that they have killed more than 40 to 45 rhinos. And imagine they keep on doing these things. So what have affected that habitat? Okay, and sorry. And even after declaring there's a reserve forest and the national parks, even between 1996 to 2006, the civil war in Nepal took almost 100 lives of rhinos, because they needed the during civil war, they needed that money. So it is an easy way of getting the money by trafficking those. It was not, the trafficking thing were not that big. Nowadays it has been very constructed and well educated. It's a network, well connected network, how the trafficking happens nowadays. But yeah, for that money they just supplied those rhino horns that time. And so in India also they have and the rhino poaching. So the rhino poaching reached actually at its peak during 1970 to 1980s. And another bad thing was there, for which we always talk about, that conservation is not only like we talk about, it's just like a responsibility, because it makes a lot of difference. Because imagine that time, there were limited awareness, and also conservation efforts were not that robust, that people think about that animal, people think about that habitat, they only know about that from this animal. If we sell this, or if we kill this, it's a fun amusement, and if we sell this, we will get money. These were the two transactional thing they were having that time, nothing else than that. And almost the same situation were faced by the rhinos in India. The British colonization which again, hunting and trophy hunting things were there. And imagine the habitat loss they have faced in both the countries, because the population increase, they have started encroaching towards those grasslands, and they started doing agriculture. So of course the natural grassland or the habitat were destroyed, and also didn't get the status for conservation, just like Nepal, which is now actually like falls in global priority species conservation, of course. And that's why we are talking about this conservation. Gradually we know about the success of the history, how it happened. And uh, by after 1970, it's only 100 rhinos were left in Nepal, and near about 200 rhinos were left in India during 1900 years. So imagine that, remember this number, and like how much they have faced, and they were almost like threatened towards extinction. And so, I mean, more than 100 rhinos were poached between 1960 to 70 in Nepal. And imagine between 1980 to 1993, 692 rhinos were poached in India. So, because the India has more population of rhino, and there are many places where the rhino population is thriving. So, of course, the accessibility of the park where accessibility of the rhinos were more in India. That's why the numbers are even higher. And this also, I mean, in every papers and journals, news, we have got this number. But somehow I feel that this is how we have got it. I mean, maybe I won't be surprised if there are 50 plus rhinos being added to this number. And so, apart from this human thing, like human animal or humans' interest on animal body parts and like hunting, there are a few more things, which is human wildlife conflict. They were having gradually when. Imagine when I was saying, for example, in Chitwa National Park, it was a malaria in it is a valley. I mean, both these national parks are a valley. They are in the foothills of Himalayas, present like between two mountains. And so that in Chitwan, that was a very malaria prone area. And gradually when people started staying there, the malaria got eradicated from there. No more malaria cases have been found for hundreds of years. And so what has happened is, because people have started staying there, they have started growing their families. A lot of construction started happening, and so their numbers, I mean their area which is required for the rhino population, was getting decreased that time. And the climate change, of course, the Brahmaputra flood plain, as well as in Nepal also, they have this habitat degradation started happening. And the cross-border coordination uh, was actually went for a toss for a few years, which was not like they were not sharing a very good relationship with that. And of course, there were limited resources in Nepal. There were limited resource for the patrolling or to monitor the population or the anti-poaching, camps, and then anti-poaching camps. Okay, so these were the few things which the rhino were facing, and by the year 1970, both the countries turned around to protect this majestic species, and started to implement the conservation measures, because they could realize that now if they don't, we would lose this amazing and beautiful species. And not only species, when it is a key species and one of the megafauna, this entire habitat is going to would fall, would like fall. So yeah, they both have turned back, and so in India in 1926, though before our independence, the officially it was closed for shooting. No more hunting was there, and it opened as a visitors, like who want to visit like Kaziranga especially. So it opened to for the visitors, but not declared as a national park, because in 1950 only it was declared as a wildlife sanctuary, and in 1974 it declared as a national park. It got more recognition when it was declared as the World Heritage Site by UNESCO. And in 2006 it declared as the tiger reserve. And let me tell you all that Kaziranga National Park is one of the is one place where we have like one of the highest density of tiger population. It has more than 100 to 110 tigers which are thriving in this grassland or in Terai clan. I mean, especially in Kaziranga. And the same goes with Nepal. In 1972, it declares as a protected area, and 1973, it declared as a national park. Imagine, look at the numbers, look at the year. Even after declaration, still there were hunting, poaching were happening just because of the instability of the political, the political heads, or yeah, the political group. And at the same time there were less awareness and less enforcement of the conservation effort or the enforcement laws. And in 84 it declared as the World Heritage Center by UNESCO. It's almost see India and Nepal were going almost hand in hand to protect their species. And what Nepal has done uniquely, and rather it is one of the model project to be imbibed by many different areas in the India subcontinent and in other Southeast Asian countries, is the community forest establishment, which happened in 1993. So what is community? Because we can't do conservation without people. Human are a very important, play an important role in the conservation. I mean, if they want to, they can give it all. If they don't want to, they don't even think about it. So it's just the extreme points we are, standing. So what Nepal has done is they have given an entire land to the community people, that you protect this area. Whatever revenue is coming or whatever revenue is generating from the community forest goes to the community welfare fund. So if anybody needs school admission, fund for school admission, they get it from the community fund. If they need to, there's some medical checkup, they get that fund from there. Or for any emergencies, they can take a loan, or depending on what percentage they are taking, they get that from the community fund. And keeping that in mind, uh, they started protecting that area like their own home. You will never allow any intruder to even stand in front of your main door without knowing the reason. They started doing the same thing with this forest. And when I talk about community forest, it's an administrative word for the people. But for animals, they don't know the difference of the forest and the community forest. The community forest has grown so big that the animals, there are tiger, leopard, sloth bear, rhinos, there are numerous number of deer, and a lot of other species which roam around freely in that area. And imagine if people are getting money for their livelihood, rather, for an example, I have just say to generate, like it generates almost 100 to 1000 USD per hectare. And the community forest is near about 76,000 hectares. That's the annual income through activities. So in community forest also we have safaris, walking, you can walk, like walking safaris are there. And they also get money from timber and non-timber products. Non-timber products means the grass, the fruits, the saplings. They can use those to generate that money. So you can calculate now the 76,000 hectare into, like, take an average of 500 to 600 USD per hectare. So that's their annual income, and this is go into the community fund. So this actually initiate the proper management practice for a long term income. People don't want to give it away, they want to keep it so that generation after generation can, run this entire management. Yes. So with that, and with two things they have done is which they adopted or they executed is in India. One of the biggest achievement they have made, not only for the rhinos but for the entire wildlife species, is the Wildlife Protection Act, which happened in 1972. And in the India's it is one of the toughest or one of the strict constitution we have in India, the Wildlife Protection Act. And Nepal have come up with National Parks Conservation Act in 1973. So yeah, these are the two major things which actually gave us a lot of hope that okay, things are getting better. Okay. Uh, Now the next, these are all human happened, habitat, and now we have the disaster management, how they have been doing. Rather, Chitwan National Park get occasionally like flood, but Assam, the state where Kaziranga, like most of the national parks are there, like 6 national parks and protected areas are there in Assam, the state, and it is one of the most flood prone state due to its topography. And every year Kaziranga get floods. To give you an example, just imagine last year in 2024. At least I have done 3 Grand India trip, and after I did the last Grand India trip I did, and after that the park got closed because the monsoon arrived, and by the time the monsoon was at its peak, Kaziranga almost lost near about 200 animals, which includes 9 rhinos, and not only animals, it lost like more than 60 to 70 people's life. And so Kaziranga floods every year. Whoever you have come or want to come, you would see that there are demarcation, like in which year how much water was there. So yeah, but flood is important. It's a natural process to fertilize the landscape, because the new saplings, it's an alluvial silt which deposits, which the flood water carries, which keeps that ecosystem healthy. But yeah, it has its own flaws. And so major flood management programs were taken every year. I have worked in Kaziranga for many years, I still do. And each and every during pre-flood, there is a huge process we follow, especially awareing people, what are the trainings are there, giving trainings and stuff. So yeah, so in Kaziranga, what we had to do is during the flood management is they have dug out like few areas, or they have created near about 144 highlands. Like they dug out the soil from an area, and they started putting as a heap of land, which where the rhinos can climb, or the other animals can climb during the flood. And and those dugout areas are filled with water, which the rhinos use it as a water hole in summer. So yes, those are there. The rescue operation happens during the flood time. Especially, we get a lot of rescues of infants, like the calves, the small elephants or rhinos, deer, lot of deer get like washed from from the other part to near the highland, or they just because they can't swim. Brahmaputra at one point, I should have used that picture. Brahmaputra at one point looks like a sea. You can't see, I mean, there is no horizon. The sky and the water kind of get together. There is no horizon. We don't see any land or any tip of the grass around. So Brahmaputra is that huge. And Brahmaputra is also called the mighty Brahmaputra. So just to let you know, in India and Nepal, mostly all the rivers are addressed as she, as a female, but Brahmaputra is addressed as a he. That's why called the mighty Brahmaputra, because it takes a lot of life every year. And yeah, with that, we have like we sit with the local community, the people in the villages, and a lot of the forest department, the government officials, the NGO people like WWF, the US Fish and Wildlife also give a lot of fund during the flood programs. There are other NGOs like WCS, the Wildlife Conservation Society, and all this international organization, as well as many, like thousands of NGOs, national NGOs work together to do this management program. And even during flood, the forest patrolling stuff, they do the patrolling over there. So they imagine the life threat, not only for the animals, but they go out, open in the water. Anything can happen, but there for them, this national park or this area become like a home, and they need to protect it. And there are like pre-training, pre-flood training programs happen, who will go to different areas, who would coordinate, who is going to rescue those animals. Then the veterinary unit is there for each and every camp, in the zones, which where the animals are taken and been treated, and then release them back into the highland during the monsoon time. But they again, after monsoon, when the water recedes back, almost after 2 to 2.5 months, the animals go back to their own areas. And yeah, so before I was just looking at this picture. Let me quickly share a small story with you all. So in Kaziranga, I'm very attached to this national park. I call it my home rather, and my first love. And that didn't happen in one day. That happened for years, staying there, working with the community, with the local people, with the forest frontline staff who does patrolling or day and night. And one elderly forest guard, like he was the head of the guard that time. Recently, he passed away, and that actually made me reminded of his saying. Uh, and one day, like we used to stay in a camp which is almost broken, just on a bamboo pole, a small hut kind of thing was there. And one day I said that, It's been so many years you have been like serving in this park. I mean, don't you feel like that it is enough?" And he just told me that even if I leave my last breath to save this park and these animals, I think that day I'll retire. The day that till the day I'm breathing, I think I'm for this national park and for these animals. I mean that actually, you know, that's anyway. I just remember that. Imagine how the people are connected to this entire area. Okay, and of course, some other initiative government has taken is they have it is newly done, like in 2023 only. They have been talking about for the special commando force to assist in patrolling and guarding this national park. And Kaziranga already has a special rhino protection task force. They have because of this Wildlife Protection Act, We have if anything has been found, like if you have been found guilty, so imprisonment and fine is there. And if it is a continuous crime you have been doing, then it can be a life imprisonment as well. The community involvement, of course, the people who are working there are from the community. They have been appointed by the forest department, and they are encouraging the community people to get into the forest to work there so that they feel the more connection with the forest. The awareness and outreach programs keeps on happening each and almost every month, like 2 3, because there are a lot of NGOs who are doing all these awareness and outreach programs. So imagine if even if there are 10 NGOs who are working in that same sector, they go through, but they have different agendas. Suppose I was doing with the freshwater turtles, so and the the ecological part of it. So of course maybe I'm aware on that and giving training to the forest department people, the frontline stuff, of course. So in different NGOs, they are giving this outreach programs, training them. And this cross-border collaboration when India and Nepal had done, that was a big success as well, because we share a part of the forest with each other, especially two forest areas. And so the transboundary protection started happening. The anti-poaching cooperation like started working together in those areas. The rhino, translocation and genetic diversity initiative have been done. So sometimes, from our part, the rhinos go to Nepal, and from Nepal they come to India's part. I mean, animals, they don't know this border, so there are natural corridors, and they protect those corridors when they're, crossing from here and there. The joint monitoring and research started happening, sharing the data of that area. Uh, so it is easier for both the countries to keep a track of the rhinos and whereabouts in that area. And of course, the role of international organization play a huge role, because to do all these things you need a lot of funding, you need a lot of commitment, you need to bring people together. So of course WWF plays an important role, not only for this land highland creation, for this flood management, and there's a translocation, this whole entire translocation process. Yeah, so those are been done by these bigger organizations with the forest department, of course. So here, and then there is a rescue rehabilitation point. So here you can see there it's been translocated into different parts, and here is which has been rescued, and then it has been released both in Nepal and India. It has happened. India, we got a lot of rescue programs happens that then they are released back into the wild. And so yeah, those things are there. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to say. It's while doing all this thing, like other measures which they taken. So there are about, this is a forest patrolling camp. There are about 200 anti-poaching camps in Kaziranga, and more than 1200 patrolling guards who were there to patrol the entire area, like on foot or on bicycles or on elephants or on boat. Like they do that 24 hours, batch by batch. Like there are different camps would have 3 to 4 people in each camp, and they would go on patrolling in those areas. So anything happens in that particular area, those people are responsible to go. And a lot of forest guard have lost their lives by the poachers because of their they were carrying much advanced firearms, of course. And in Chitwan National Park, it's a different way of protecting it. They have this anti-poaching, unit, and who are there in that entire community forest as well as in the core area. And it has been more given to the army for the regulation and for checking everything. So they have a different way of handling this entire thing. Once you visit Chitwan National Park, you would get to see that while entering, there are army camps where they check our tickets, see our face, check the vehicle number, that they note the timing. So each and everything being monitored really, really well. Okay. So with that, and the translocation success also has happened, as I was mentioning in one place, that this has the highest concentration of rhinos. So even like years back, from Kaziranga to that area, few rhinos got translocated, and now it has almost 107 one-horn rhinos in that area. And also in Chitwan, sorry, and there is another national park, Bardia National Park. So from Chitwan to Bardia, a lot of rhinos had been relocated, and in 2019 there were, I think, around 25 rhinos were relocated to Bardia, and now it has 37 rhino population. So of course this is, with that, the grassland management is very important to make these species thrive. And we don't get forest fire in that way. So it does the control fire. So before it gets too hot, the grassland has been burned to get the new grass, because mostly in the grasslands they are grazing animals are there. So those grassland managements are there, and they do the control fire so that even if anything happens, the entire forest should not get burned, because in during dry summer the grasses are like it's really turns golden almost. Yeah, so, and in Nepal, there is a particular type of grass grow which they use to build their, house, the thatch, the roof they build with it. It doesn't get spoiled. So they also take that grass and they burn out that grassland area. Okay. So with that, they have in Kaziranga as well as in Chitwan, but mostly you will see in Kaziranga that it has been given lot of signs and symbols near the animal corridors, and the entire area through which we have the park, uh, alongside of the park, the road we have where the animals can come near the corridors, there are speed monitoring system, there are CCTV cameras, and there are people, the forest people as well as the police, the task force is also there to monitor everything on that. And if anybody crosses that limit, they have been like, from the next stop they have to pay a huge amount of fine, or sometimes they take them to the jail as well, like under the bar, behind the bar. So yeah, it's very strict, and it's strictly followed. Sorry. And next is like how the tourism has affected the Kaziranga. Of course, it's a lot. It's like they have 4 zones. We go in 3 zones out of 4 during our trip, and it has a regulated wildlife safaris, checking on tourist bags, which is very important. Not us, but many people do carry plastic bags and food which they sometimes throw to the animals. So you are not supposed to carry any food with you. So they keep on monitoring that. They even take a breath analyzer for the gypsy driver each and every day they are entering, so that they know that they are not drunk and drive thing. And so in Kaziranga, they offer drive, walk, both safaris and hiking trails are there. So all these things, and of course there are educational, environmental education and awareness center where you can go and get to know about more about Kaziranga. And you already we have spoken about the crisis and the disaster management, and the revenue which has been generated from the tourism over there are used in conservation of the habitat, conservation of the animals out there, as well as for the local communities. So imagine every year Kaziranga face floods, a lot of money goes, a lot of people lose their home. And again, when the tourist season come back, the season come back, that help these people to build their new homes like that. Um, so yeah, this is quite a helpful. And with the tourism management in Chitwan, it's almost the same. Um, they have also drive, walk, and boat safaris, sustainable tourism practice. There are more homestays over there in Chitwan. Community involvement, we have already spoken, and the benefit which share by the forest department as well as by the community people. And environmental education center, awareness center is also there in Chitwan, and the revenue generation for conservation. So we have all, and only the zoning for tourism activities over there in Chitwan, there are like in core and buffer zone are there, for which the activities goes around, like we do the activities. So with all these efforts, now from like in 1950 or 40, more less than like 600 rhinos, or less than 500 rhinos, we have reached to 4,000 plus rhino in the, I mean, greater one-horn rhino population, for which 3,200 plus population in India, and Kaziranga holds alone 3,000 rhinos out there, and Nepal has 752 population over there. The highest density of rhino population we get to see in Chitwan National Park, which is another favorite national park of mine. I mean, I get to see those muggers, gharials, and beautiful. I mean, that's a stunning park. Yeah, with that, with every effort, with every conservation effort and every conservation success, you can imagine, like from 100 to 200 rhinos, now we have 4,000 plus rhinos in total. So that's a huge, I mean, it's a testament of, the success story we can talk about. And but still they are facing threats, which is the most like important, is the habitat loss and the degradation of the forest. It's still there, the habitat lost. But due to this, the government is expanding the protected areas of the national park. So we are still hoping. The fragmented corridors, though the corridors have been protected, Kaziranga has more than 9 to 10 important corridors, and people are protecting that corridors by plantation and protecting that area. But still we need more, because our population has really gone really far. I hope they grow more, of course. The human animal conflict, they it keeps on happening, because human and animal, the community almost live side by side of the national park area, the surrounding of the national park area. So when their rice or their paddy and their plantation grow, sometimes the rhino comes in, and of course, and sometimes even the tiger comes in and like kill their cattle and stuff. So of course forest department give them compensation for that, but still it keeps on happening. So the conflict is there. Poaching, the number has reduced a lot, that's why I have like kept it in number 4. And the climate change, of course, it is having a huge it is gradually made a huge difference in that national park, especially the like the river system. And of course it goes with everything, the species has to adopt, and this climate change is happening so fast that the difficulty is like how fast these animals can adapt to it. So that is another threat for this, not only for this species but the entire biodiversity. And so what we can do is raising awareness on importance of habitat and species. Habitat is the most important thing now, because if the habitat is there, species would come back. and supporting the conservation organizations. So whenever you are signing in for any national park, to visit any national park, the revenue, it is generating a revenue for that national park to conserve the animals wherever you go, and promoting responsible ecotourism, sustainable livelihood. All these. So whenever you are traveling, only to see the animal, but when you know the history, when you know the area, the importance of that area, you go back and talk to hundreds of people regarding that, so that this conservation efforts and everything spreads out. I mean, it's only awareness and protect habitats, consuming less non-degradable products as much as we can, as much as possible. That's how we all can go and play our part in conservation. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm ready to take questions, but I don't know whether we don't have time.
All right, thank you, Arpita. So if we do have any questions, feel free to submit them in the question field in your control panel. So let me ask you this, Arpita. Uh, do we know how much the population grows each year? And is there a goal for the number that we're trying to reach?
Okay, so thank you for the question. So there was a vision of one horn rhino for 2020, and they have decided that they would raise the number to 3,000 in Kaziranga. That, I mean, this all over India. They have got the vision, but we have exceeded that number, and we are now preparing our new vision. But the new vision is for not only for the population, but it is the new vision plan is to have more rhino population in two more different protected areas. So that's how the vision is now, to protect the habitat, the landscape, and then the population will definitely grow by them. So right now the vision, it's on progress, and it's almost raised almost around 160 percentage of rhino population, how it was till now.
Well,
So yeah.
thank you, Arpita. We do appreciate that. Unfortunately, that is going to be the only question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to hand it back to you for some closing comments.
Thank you so much for listening. And I'm so sorry if you have more question I couldn't answer, but anyway, I will be there, and my like anytime you can reach out to me. But thank you so much, and I hope I'll see you all someday in either of these two national parks. So have a great week and have a lot of fun. Thank you, and thank you so much, Rob. Have a great day too.
Arpita, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. If you are interested in information on how you can travel to see rhinos with NatHab, give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. If you're part of a photo club and would like NatHab to speak to your members about nature and travel photography, email us at webinars@nathab.com. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.